When there's fantasy football news that needs to be discussed, or you got questions about your own team, come to Finkle and Einhorn. The laces are out. Welcome to the first episode of Finkle and Einhorn. You can catch me at PickleRick182 on Twitter, and you can get Einhorn over there at FoggyMatt on Twitter. This is our first episode. What you can expect in the future from Finkle and Einhorn is a lot of fun, a lot of comedy, and a lot of fantasy football. We are fanatics. We are legitimately obsessed with football. That's all we think about is our leagues and what we can do to improve, what we can do to create the best league possible. We love to play. We love to answer questions, and we love to educate. We love the game. We love predicting, all of it. So all of it encompassed in one. If you're about that, if you're new to fantasy football, if you want to learn more about fantasy football, tune into Finkle and Einhorn. You can ask us questions on Twitter. We will put them on the show. We're going to be very interactive as we can be. So we want this show to be more about helping you more than anything. We're going to bring the news. We're going to evaluate the news, but it's more about you, the listener. What type of league do you have? Give us all the information you can about your league. Let us know what you're looking for, what you have, what you've been offered, what you're thinking about doing, anything, a rule you change, a rule you need to know about. We are very in tune on all this stuff, and we really would like to talk to you about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are fanatics. So, topic.
Yep.
What
so
are we doing?
For the first episode of Finkle and Einhorn, the draft just ended. We thought it would be very fitting for us to go ahead and go through the first round of the draft, see what's important, what's not. So I got it pulled up. First pick of the NFL draft, Joe Burrow going to the Bengals. Matt is our analyst extraordinaire. What do you think, Einhorn?
Absolutely love this pick. I really thought Cincinnati could have cashed in and made some moves and dropped back and been okay acquiring some draft capital because they need more than Joe Burrow. But, you know, I said it when the first round was complete. I felt that this was one of the best first rounds in a really long time, as far as nothing really wonky happened. They got what they needed. And Cincinnati really kind of continued trend throughout the draft. A strong draft. He's going to an offensive geared team. And there's some fantasy potential here because they're going to use him. They're going to throw it, and they've got weapons for him to throw it too. So I truly like this pick.
Exactly. Joe Burrow, everyone I think knew this was going to happen. There were people trying to speculate otherwise. I think Matt at one time had even floated, they're going to go Chase Young. But
good player too.
He is. I mean, probably the best defensive player in the draft, bar none. But I feel like –
and they have to deal with Lamar Jackson twice.
Right.
Twice a year.
Twice. So I feel like this Joe Burrow pick – was a foregone conclusion. They're going to have to do something with Andy Dalton. The kid needs to go ahead and get in there, take control with all the young pieces they have, which we'll cover later. This team is starting to look a lot better. A lot better. I've said this about other teams, and I'll say it in the future, especially on this episode, but I'm liking the trend of where this team is going.
It's a toss-up division for sure that they're in because anybody can walk out. It's kind of NFC West, Francisco, Seattle, Arizona now, and the Rams. I mean, great pick. Way to start it. Very exciting.
Exactly. So the second pick we have is Chase Young from Ohio State. He goes to the Redskins. I feel like we all knew this was going to happen as well. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's a great pick. That team is still destined to be horrible.
Yeah, but they're going to have a really good defense. They could probably the best fantasy on their team could be their defense. Don't be surprised, folks.
I mean, we'll talk about it later, but I feel like they're a couple pieces away from actually having some fantasy. They need a quarterback. I think they get a free agent one that's out there later. We'll talk about it. But, yeah, I just feel like they need a lot of stuff to be a better team. But moving on to the third pick, let's get Jeff Okudah from Ohio State, the cornerback. Matt, what do you think?
Great. They just traded Slay to Philadelphia. They have to fill a hole, and you know what? They used the third pick for it.
Yep.
I thought they could have went Simmons, but it's a great pick. It's whichever one for her.
Well, it's a need that they had to fill. A need they had to fill. Cornerback is huge in the game, especially now. It's the most important defensive position, I would say, because it's a passing game. I mean, it's a passing game. I mean, you could say maybe middle linebacker, but corner is very, very,
Very
important. So getting to
without one.
Yeah. So getting to the next pick, the fourth pick, we have Andrew Thomas, and first tackle actually taken from Georgia for the Giants. What do you think of this one?
I think it's a phenomenal pick, especially when you have last year in the first round you spent on Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. The year before that, you had the second overall pick, and you took Saquon Barkley.
Who went ahead of him?
Logical next step.
Who went ahead of quarterback?
Baker Mayfield.
Oh, God.
Baker Mayfield.
Oh, man.
It worked out both parties. Cleveland, a quarterback, and Saquon didn't end up in Cleveland.
Right.
So,
no-brainer pick, right?
I think it's a great pick, the offensive tackle, and I think this pick actually plays a trend later on because you see teams actually starting to see the trend to build behind and around key pieces, because if you don't do that, you're way those first round, even the star potential.
Oh, yeah.
Saquon Barkley can't block.
Right. And that's the theme of this draft, I think. We're only 4 picks in, but as you can tell, every team basically did what they needed to do, and it went
filling needs.
It went to filling needs. No one did anything big. There was only like 1 or 2 trades. It was all need fulfillment. So getting to some more of the meat of this draft where actual fantasy lies, we get to the 5th pick with Miami taking Tua from Alabama. Matt.
They got the guy. They got their guy. The people in Miami a year ago were saying tank for Tua. And when the team actually started moving pieces, people thought purposely tanking for Tua. And the weirdest thing happens because Tua gets injured and Miami starts to win. But somehow they found themselves together at pick 5. I think it's a great future pick, especially with some of the things Miami did later in the draft. But from a fantasy standpoint, do not expect Tua to start year 1. No. This is summer. Fitzpatrick's going to start year 1, and then next year Fitzpatrick's probably going to back up to starting week 1. And the Tua era will go.
Yeah,
it's a safety.
Yeah, I see Tua probably coming in halfway through the season and finishing it out, especially if you get 2 games in a row of Fitzpatrick just absolutely being horrible, throwing 4 interceptions or something like that. I can see it happening. Tua is trying to make a case for himself in training camp. He thinks he's good to go now. So that is going to be something to watch. I think we can't make any real prediction right now. We're going to have to monitor it, see where it goes. But this, like Matt said, there are pieces later in this draft we'll talk about. It looks like they are setting him up to be successful. So this year, maybe we'll see where it goes, but next year for sure. If you're in a dynasty, this is a year you could take him and just let him sit, even if he never plays a game. So let's go to the next one. And this is something else real quick. Miami was floating out that they liked Herbert. So they were trying, if you can not, now in hindsight, you can tell, they were trying to get Chargers to overpay to move up one spot so they could move back and get Tua anyway. So they were trying to screw the Chargers over. Chargers didn't fall for it. They took Tua, and then the Chargers got Justin Herbert from Oregon, quarterback 6. Matt. I keep calling you Matt. It's Einhorn.
That's cool. Justin Herbert's just one of those things where a big arm kid. He's like 6'6", big pocket passer kind of guy. And he's got weapons to throw to. I think what you're going to get with him is exactly what Bucks got with Jameis Winston. He's going to turn it over and cost you a lot of games, but it's going to be exciting. The road's going to be fun. There's going to be fantasy relevance, but I don't think I want Justin Herbert. I think the pieces around him are okay. Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler. It's kind of hard to fill there. That's the defense that they have, but I think a lot of it is he's not the quarterback that Tua or Burrow are.
Right. He's a different breed. I feel like The way I see this guy is kind of a Ryan Tannehill in his early age with the Dolphins. I see him as like a guy basically comes in, and Alex Smith in his first 4 years, he comes in and he's not as good as you would expect him to be, but he's serviceable. He's like an Andy Dalton type. He's serviceable. He's going to get you decent yards, decent fantasy points as well, since that's the relevancy here. He's going to be okay. I mean, he's worth a draft. He's worth a grab in like a standard league. Getting him late as a wild card quarterback backup might not be a bad deal. Like you said, he has tons of picks, people around him that are going to be fantasy relevant. So it depends on his accuracy. Every single rookie comes in,
yeah, absolutely,
with how quick they get the ball out. So we'll see what happens. But it's very interesting with him getting taken from the Chargers. So number 7, we go to Derek Brown, Auburn DT. They go for a need. That's pretty much all I have here. It's a great pick, great player, great need.
They could have gone with Simmons with Kuechly retiring, but Brown's, like you said, great. He's going to get to learn to Gerald, phenomenal defensive tackle. Brown needs that. Brown needs on-field coaching as well as phenomenal coaching in the offices, and that's some Carolina's done really well as a franchise. Their history, they've developed their defensive line extremely well. Other positions too, but this is great for them and him.
And they even said that he is very versatile, so they can use him all up and down the line. And that's something they really liked about him. So expect to see him doing that like crazy. So
have it.
Yeah. So I mean, well, basically, we're here for fantasy relevance, so we're going to cover some of these defensive players really fast. When we get to the offensive players, then we'll actually go in depth with a few of them. So I'm going to actually start just rattling off a few, if that's cool. I mean, we all know that these guys are good. We can go into how good they are or not. You can look each player up, but let's just go to the offensive people, because in fantasy, that's what we're drafting. Unless you're very detailed in IDP league or something like that, you're really not caring about the defensive players as much until it gets to streaming a defense.
Absolutely.
So next 8th pick, Isaiah Simmons, Clemson, OLB. Then we got Florida for the 9th pick. They take C.J. Henderson, going to the Jaguars at cornerback. Then we have, which is a great pick for them, they lost Bouye and who's the other guy? Amazing guy.
Ramsey.
So both those guys gone. They had to address that need. Number 10, Jedrick Willis Jr. for Alabama. He's a tackle. So that's really good for the Browns.
Yeah, Nick Chubb and Baker Mayfield, congratulations. Again, you're seeing the trend. Philly needs. Great first so far.
Exactly. All these people are filling needs. You get to the Jets at 11, who take Mekhi Becton from Louisville, another tackle. Big for Le'Veon Bell. Big for that quarterback who was getting sacked like crazy, getting knocked down like crazy. Very good. They have no receivers, but anyway. Moving on to number 12, when a receiver actually does come up, and oh boy, was it not a shock to see John Gruden in the Oakland Raiders taking Henry Ruggs.
Speed guy.
Henry Ruggs, the wide receiver. What do you think, Einhorn?
They took their guy. They wanted this guy. They like the speed. That's a staple for the Raiders franchise. And I think the coolest thing, him being bathrobe while he got drafted, is he's probably the wide receiver as far as the rookie class goes, as far as talent and where it landed. This is your guy in your dynasty leagues. If it's, you only get a couple picks and you're only taking rookies, this you take.
Yeah.
It's the wideout you take. Henry Ruggs. They traded Amari Cooper. They have Josh Jacobs. They have Derek Carr who's playing it. They have Darren Waller. This is their one numero uno right here.
Yeah.
And it's a great pick.
Yeah.
For everyone involved.
Yeah, exactly. It's a perfect fit. The other person you didn't mention is Tyrell Williams, man. This guy, I don't know. I think Tyrell will keep the 1. This guy's going to go to 2, but he will, within 6 games of the season, probably take over the 1 as far as fantasy goes. On the team might be 2 still, but he is going to be the fantasy guy you want over Tyrell Williams. He was very hyped last year. He started the year out getting quite a few touchdowns. that's probably going to go to Ruggs now. This is a young team that looks promising as well. Everybody was doubting, Chucky coming in whenever he was making these crazy moves. I still think they were crazy. I agree with that. But this is a great pick, a great fit. I wanted Ruggs for the Niners. It didn't happen. A lot of people saw other receivers going higher than Ruggs, but it went down to them wanting that dude. Going to the next pick, we have Tristan Wirfs for Tampa Bay. They traded up. Tampa Bay trades up. Brady gets a tackle. That was huge. They needed that. And we'll cover the other news of Gronkowski later joining the team. That technically was another tackle added to their team as well. So
filling needs.
Filling needs. It's exactly the theme of this draft. This draft is so first round, makes entire sense. Going to the next pick was another trade up. The Niners, they had traded actually. So
they swapped with Tampa Bay. They went back.
Exactly. They trade up. They get Javon Kinlaw from South Carolina. He's a defensive tackle, filling another need. They needed big time in defense. The next pick is actually the 15th pick, Jerry Jeudy, going to the Broncos, wide receiver. This is scary for a lot of people. Cortland Sutton owners, you're going to be scared. It's good for Locke owners because he could be, have some relevancy this year in fantasy, maybe as a pickup more than likely. But man, this team to me is like a question mark, Einhorn, and I'm just wondering, like, which way do they go? Do they go down? Do they go up? And with the addition of all these offensive weapons, I'm really liking what I'm seeing.
All right, you want to know what I'm seeing, especially how the draft played out. We're obviously recorded after the draft, so we know what happens.
Right.
But I see Denver as the perfect landing spot for Aaron Rodgers next season.
I agree. I feel like Elway is going to just keep this trend
repeat the Manning.
Keep this trend of taking old people in their late prime going into retirement and just saying, let's finish this together.
So what I say for Jerry Jeudy is, in your dynasty leagues, you're going to make this guy early. What separates Ruggs above him, I feel, is the fact that Ruggs is going to have consistent impact right away. Jerry Jeudy's deal with Drew Lock for a year, and we have what's going to happen when it has so many options to Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, monster in the backfield with Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay, and they have no and they receiver later on in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
There's weapons there, but I don't think Drew Lock's the quarterback past this season, especially if Aaron Rodgers is available.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it later with quarterbacks that are still available. Maybe this is a team that could go out and get a free agent. It could be possible, but based on what we're hearing from Elway, it does not look like it's going to happen.
They're going to give Lock the year.
He is dug in on some Lock, so we'll see. Things can change real quickly, as we have seen in the NFL. So the 16th pick were the Falcons. They took A.J. Terrell, another cornerback, another need getting filled. Then we have at 17, the Cowboys come in and shock the world, taking C.D. Lamb with the wide receiver, making Michael Gallup owners just clench real deep and go, oh, I thought I had a wild card, and who knows now?
Absolutely. CeeDee Lamb's phenomenal. I don't know how Dallas ended up getting maybe one of the most gifted wide receivers in the draft. Some could say he's the best wide receiver in the draft. But Dallas ended up, and this actually helps them out because it entices Dak back, and maybe you can find somebody to take Michael Gallup. He should be coming up on a contract year. You can trade there. I don't know how you free up money because you're Amari Cooper, you're paying Ezekiel Elliott, and you've got to pay Dak. So there's going to be some decisions made down the line, especially when it comes time for CeeDee Lamb contract. And this is one of those where I think you want a lot of Dak Prescott. I think a lot of CeeDee Lamb. But I feel like the choice isn't between Lamb and Jeudy for dynasty owners and fantasy owners. I think it's Ruggs, and then the choice lies between Jeudy or Lamb.
Yeah, Jeudy and Lamb are in the same position. They're both number 3, or they're both coming into it. Well, you don't know
There's
what
a lot of
production they're
people
going to
in
get.
the kitchen.
Exactly. You don't know who's going to get the ball, especially Melvin Gordon going to the Broncos. So it's a lot of where the touch is going to come. Is it going to be more like a Deebo Samuel, or is it going to be more like a Marquise Brown? Like how are they going to end the year? Because at the beginning of the year, you thought you'd want Brown, and then at the end of the year, you wanted Deebo. So you can see a lot of that with these two receivers as well. You can see a lot of changes coming in these two teams. The next pick was Austin Jackson, and a tackle for Miami. This was a great pick at 18. I thought Miami was just basically saying, hey, we're shoring up this quarterback position. We're getting our young team, the right type of build to shore them up for the future.
Brian Flores, he's building his culture.
Yeah, and the thing is, they got two of the best corners in the league last year. So this team is, they're on the up. Just like I said earlier, who was it I was talking about? The Bengals. Bengals and Miami, to me, are both just in a trajectory going straight up. The stock
8-8 or better.
Yeah, it's looking good, especially with how the Patriots have changed. That league or that division with the Dolphins is anybody's game except for the Bills. The Bills take it easily next year. 19th pick, we have Damon Arnett. It's a cornerback for the Raiders, another need position. 20, we have, let's see, Kayvon Kaysan. Yeah, Kayvon Kaysan. There we go. He's a OLB from LSU. He goes to Jaguars. There you go. There's the need fill for Kuechly. So that's good. Then you got 21. The Eagles get Jalen Reagor, wide receiver. It makes sense. Their receivers are getting old, but they had a couple young guys they took last year, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, the issue that they had is everybody got hurt here, including Deshaun Jackson and whatnot. And none of their really playing Hassan Whiteside or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Y-O, that's it. Sorry.
Yeah.
But they had to have somebody, and I feel like that's why Dallas took Sam at 17, because really want him to go your division opponent in the Eagles and give Carson CeeDee Lamb.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. You do not want to see that twice a year. Twice.
Right.
So, Dallas did what they did. Why Philadelphia ended up CU wide out.
Yeah. And I think that CeeDee Lamb is the top of the tier. He's the last one that was available. The Cowboys knew they had to take him, or else there was no top tier receiver still available. I think Reagor and Jefferson are in that beginning of the second tier, and everybody knows it. And speaking of, you go to the next pick, the 22nd pick, and that is Justin Jefferson to the Vikings. They traded up, and I feel like they saw the fact that the top of the second tier was about to be over as well.
I feel like with Justin, it's one of those things where they feel the need, but because the need is so great and he's a super talented wide receiver for you, that the combination of the two parts will put him in that common with Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee and Ruggs. As far as fantasy owners, these are your probably top 4 wide receivers that you should be eyeballing, because he's filling the Stephon Diggs role. And Adam Thielen's no spring chicken anymore. Like, this is a super productive position for him to be in, and he's a super talented guy. So as long as he just keeps up the hard work and whatnot, that's going to be a fruitful thing for everybody involved, fantasy owners included.
Oh, I agree completely with that analysis. When I was saying earlier is only about the talent of these players, the second tier of talent that they have and produce in college. So he is a top tier fantasy prospect right now if you're in a dynasty league or a draft league, because this guy is probably going to have a better opportunity than CeeDee Lamb or some of these other people. Now, CeeDee Lamb, not saying at the end of the year couldn't beat him, but just saying his opportunity as basically the number 2 guy is a very big opportunity to have with Justin Jeffrey there.
And that's a big role in that offense.
Exactly. You got to think Diggs coming out of that. They probably won't go to it as much. You might see Thielen get a little more work, which is great for his owners, but he's only got 1 or 2 years left. He's not that great, but he's a great red zone guy. So big things could be coming for Justin Jefferson. It just depends if he takes that leap. If he doesn't, it'll crash and burn quick, and you'll know it. but that's probably not going to happen. He's a great talent. So let's get through the end of this. Not very few more people to go through that are impactful. 23, we got Kenneth Murray for the Chargers. Inside linebacker, another need. You get 24, the Saints, Michigan center. That was huge. Cesar Ruiz.
Yeah,
Ruiz.
Replacing the hole that Max Younger left, who they got from Seattle when they traded Jimmy Graham. Again, filling a need. Everybody did great this first round, and it was a great to watch.
Oh, yeah. And then the 25th pick, my guys, they trade up to get another pick. They're twice in the first round. 49ers take Brandon Ayuk, Arizona State wide receiver. They love this guy. They said this was their number one receiver over everybody. I hated hearing that because I would have taken Ruggs, but this guy is a burner. They love this guy. Going to the next pick.
Great with Debo.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Debo is your possession, and this guy is your breakaway Tyreek Hill type. So,
and you still got Kittle.
Exactly. To cut that middle off in case nothing's there.
Get you Garoppolo stock ready.
It's looking good. So this was the most controversial pick of the first round. The 26th pick, the Green Bay Packers take a quarterback in Jordan Love. What do you think?
Let's take a little time with this one so we can just cover it all. A lot of people compare it to the Aaron Rodgers being selected by Brett Favre. And here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers fell to at 5.
Yeah, they traded
when he was drafted. They traded up. And so Aaron Rodgers is probably sitting at home in this, and he's seeing Tom Brady get an offensive tackle. Seeing Derek Carr get around him. He's seeing, all these young quarterbacks, Breeze getting a center, and all these people getting their needs. And then Aaron Rodgers is looking at it, and his team doesn't get him anything to help him. His team solely gets
nothing
franchise thing, and that is we might have our quarterback for the future. This is the ultimate. We're not going to win now. The Packers. This is seriously what Aaron Rodgers has had to deal with in Green Bay. I think he's a little bit bitter to the franchise and whatnot. And when it comes down to it, who more, Favre or Rodgers? Easily, it's Favre. He embraced it a little bit better. Also, when Favre was in Green Bay, they brought him right.
Yeah,
they got him help on both sides of the ball. That's something that Green hasn't been doing with Rodgers, and I seriously feel like for this year, this is the Aaron Rodgers FU year where he lighted up.
Yeah.
And then someone like a Denver Bronco or whoever, Colts, somebody that doesn't have a quarterback pan out that feels they can out and give Rodgers what Tom when he went New England, Tampa. When you do that, I mean, I don't see Rodgers in Green Bay much this year as this pick right here. Basically a slap in the face.
Yeah, this pick is definitely a slap in the face for Rodgers. It's very disrespectful. And it's just, I understand you getting the person you want. And Rodgers even said in a radio interview a month ago, he's like, or a couple of weeks ago, I'm not sure when it was, look it up. But he's essentially saying, look, they're going to take a quarterback. I know they're going to take a quarterback. I don't care who it is. I'll outplay them and I'll win the position. It doesn't matter. If they want to bring in their guy, no one's going to beat me, whoever they bring in. And I agree with that. That is true. But what this does say, I think, to everyone is that there was contention with Rodgers and the head coach. What's his name?
Matt LaFleur.
So there was contention between Matt LaFleur and Rodgers. LaFleur basically wants to be the man. He wants to run the show. So he and Rodgers butt heads. He wants to tell him how the offense is going to be. Rodgers is like, look, if it ain't working, I'm going to do what I want because I know it works. And there's a lot of headbutting going on there. I feel like you're right. Rodgers is definitely saying, this is my FU season. This is my last season in Green Bay. There's no way I'm staying here after this. You get 1 year to get your guy ready, and I get to have a farewell tour from being in Green Bay and let everybody know this is it. So you're right. I think the Colts are very interesting. I think it comes down to them and the Broncos. It comes down to the twice of them.
Well, here's another thought. Okay, what if he stays twice years in Green Bay and Brady retires in Tampa Bay in 2 years?
I mean, that's also possible.
Does Bruce Arians get him, or what if Ben Roethlisberger hangs it up after this year?
Well,
Pittsburgh becomes an attractive
that
offer.
you could have Drew Brees hang it up. I mean, Rodgers could hang it up. We don't know. So a lot of question marks there, but I do think Rodgers has some more in the tank. He's kind of offended by this. This gives him a little more juice to want to win. So I like it. I like it for Rodgers. I think it's great. But moving on to the last final picks, we have Jordan Brooks for the 27th pick for the Seahawks. He goes OLB.
Seahawks.
28, we got Patrick Queen, inside linebacker for the Ravens. That's great. And then 29, Isaiah Wilson, Georgia. This is the Titans offensive tackle. So huge pick for them. They needed that big time.
They just lost Conklin.
Exactly. So then moving up in the 30th pick, the Miami Dolphins, man, they get them another corner. This is their nickel corner, who is a great corner for Auburn, in Noah Igbeanahini. So that guy. Then you got 31st, Jeff Gladney, cornerback from TCU.
Another good guy.
Great guy. He's going to the Vikings. And then the last pick, a pick that is probably going to be a top 1 or 2 pick in dynasties and in a standard. It's probably going to be, I don't know, if things work out the way that we think they will, a 2nd or 3rd round pick in general. It's going to be crazy. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back, which they need for Kansas City.
What's extremely funny for everybody, watching and listening, there were 2 picks that we actually called each other and talked while the pick came. One was the Packers pick, and we let down, and then the other was the Kansas City pick, because leading up to this, we basically were like, if Melvin Gordon was on the market, if Johnson was on the market, and Todd Gurley was on the market, why didn't Kansas City go as? Because they don't have a run. And we're like, well, they're probably going to draft one. Pick of the first round, we're on the phone. They got the pick of the running backs, and this is the guy they got. And I feel like they have the hybrid of like the Sean McCoy, the Brian Westbrook, and Aaron Sproul all rolled into one. This guy could literally put up LT numbers.
Right.
The good LT numbers inside this system with his skill set and his physical abilities. This is a great pick. Like you said, in your dynasty leagues, this is, either a Joe Burrow or Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Henry Ruggs. These are your first 3 picks, and they're going to the way you want it based on what your team needs are. These are the first 3 picks because it's probably the safest thing out there,
Oh, yeah, easily. Easily. This pick is the last pick, and it's almost as valuable in a dynasty as the very first pick of this round. So it is crazy, and all of that is dependent upon if he gets the number 1 work share load of everything. Now, Andy Reid was shown his highlights and his tapes and everything, or maybe even seen him, and they said, this guy's like Brian Westbrook, and Andy Reid said this guy is better than Brian Westbrook. He loves this guy. Like you said, they had their pick of the litter. This guy was expected to go after the top 2, and he went before them because they loved this guy. So the hype coming in is you want him. You want him. You want him. And you do want him for this system. Look at what Hunt did. Look at what these people that are not good doing in this system. Not that Hunt isn't good, but everybody else. Now, if you get this rookie and he actually takes the number 1 spot, my goodness, dude, this guy, like I said, a 2nd round pick as a rookie, is the one.
Go back and think drafts. Last year, they took Thompson, and I believe it was like the 6th round.
I was going to say that, though. I was going to warn about him. Because is this another overhyping of the position and them taking someone? Because, Thompson was taken late.
Yeah, they took him in the 6th.
So there's difference in talent there.
A couple years before that, Kareem Hunt, I think he went 3rd. I believe it was the 3rd round, maybe the 4th.
I think so.
But Reid to take a running back in the 1st round, actually in a league where backs typically do not go.
Yep.
Your Barkleys and your Elliott's and your Fredette are different. Your Todd Gurley's, your Melvin Gordon's. So that puts him in this echelon with like a Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
And you don't take somebody in the 1st round to be part of a committee.
You hope not. It's just very scary for Kansas City the last couple of years to own anybody. So you hope. I think in a dynasty you have to take the risk because this dude is that huge of a key piece in this offense.
Oh, absolutely.
So we'll leave the draft at that. Let's move on to the next topic that we have with Gronk coming back to the NFL. It seemed to happen in a whirlwind out of nowhere within literally 1 hour time span. You hear the news that he's thinking about coming back. You hear the news that Brady has reached out to him. You hear the news that he has reached out to the Patriots to get released or traded. Then you hear the Patriots trade him, and then you hear he clears his physical. All of this within like 1 to 2 hour time span. And so news was flying. Everybody's like, is this real? And by the time everybody was wondering, it was legitimately all done. What do you think, Einhorn? Crazy.
You know, you feel bad for O.J. Howard in this situation, especially Howard fantasy owners. I think the of it is they have a blocker in Gronk, they have and Bright, they have pass catchers that are among the elite in the NFL with Godwin and Evans. So, you know, Ronald Jones is a decent pass catcher too, as well as they brought in the Florida running back.
Yeah.
I think Tom Brady has exactly what he needs to succeed. It's not like inside this offense they need an Antonio Brown. Did they need, you know, another wide receiver? No, they didn't need an O.J. Howard to catch the ball. They needed a Gronkowski to block.
Yeah.
You know, his run blocking, pass blocking is great. Same thing with Cameron. And they can still catch off. It's not like they're not going to get there. But, I mean, I look for it to pedestrian thing.
Yeah, I mean, Gronk is going to have I would say between 5 and 10 overall tight end numbers. He's going to be in the 5 to 10 ballpark. It's not going to be a great Gronk because he's not needed to be a great Gronk. He is more so of a blocker and a bail Brady out when he needs him in the short yardage because Brady hasn't had these type of weapons. Brady went from a team with no weapons and you had to throw it to Gronk to a team with tons of weapons. So this is really going to spread the field out. Gronk is going to be open from time to time. He's going to have efficient targets. You know what I'm saying? He's going to have a lot more one-on-one targets versus a lot more double teams. So I really like it for Gronk. I think Gronk is a 2-year player at this point. He's going to stay with Brady for at least twice years. That's about it for me. I mean, I love him. But I think he's going to get between 5 and 10 on the overall, which is, if he's healthy, that's where he pretty much is going to line up. All right.
I see him just the top 5 for me.
You see him just out of it?
Yeah, 5's probably a mix like a Darren Waller, George Kittle, Travis Kelce. And then the last 2 could be a toss-up of like your Noah Fant, your Will Disley's if he's healthy, Mark Andrews. I mean, I think from what fantasy football was 5-6 years ago, where there was a huge gap, tight ends 1 and 2, and then everything else, the 1 and 2 production is now like a top 5, top 6. A lot harder to get into the top tight ends now than it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, Will Disley won't be there. He's hurt. He won't even be starting this season. You'll have Greg Olsen starting. So, I mean, I can see him. The way Gronk can get in the top 5 of tight ends is if he gets the red zone play. And that's very possible to get the 2-yard play. Gronk is amazing. He can out-jump. Like, I've seen this dude up close and personal actually catch a ball. This dude can out-jump, out-maneuver, out-body any linebacker probably in the NFL. So, he can definitely – he's lost a step, but he's going to get his points 100%. All right, moving on to the next topic we have. Quarterbacks not on a team at this moment. Right now, free agents, Jameis Winston, Cam Newton. Those are the 2 big names. Einhorn, where do you have these 2 people going?
Whichever team has the back injury in preseason.
You think it's going to come down to an injury? You don't like. There's not a team you see just reaching out for these guys right now.
Absolutely not. They're not going to reach out to pay them the money that they're going to ask unless they absolutely need it. You know, like I feel like LA with Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert. That could have been a landing spot for one of them. I think it's gone. I don't think Denver should, unless something happens to Drew Lock, comes out and just something awful in preseason. See Cam Newton sneak up into there, but it's not a good time to be a quarterback looking for the NFL.
I don't know. I think after the draft was really what some of these GMs were waiting for. I think what's going to happen in the upcoming weeks that you'll see is quarterbacks being brought in for workouts, probably wait a week or two before they'll even hear anything back from people because they're trying to get their ducks in a row and figure out where do they fit, what can they offer, how much money will they have available. So all of these business decisions are coming down right now. I really feel like you're going to see these guys come in and fight for a couple places. I mean, a couple places. You said Denver. That's a great place for them to come in, but we think that they're golden. I would think it's more so going to be. I could see the Bears bringing in a third quarterback, like a Cam Newton, to go up against Foles and Mitch Trubisky. Somebody like that, or I mean, even as a backup, I could see Jameson being a backup, but I don't see Cam Newton want to be a backup at all. So. It depends if you bring Tua in and you see that he's not there, then I can see you bringing in Miami bringing in these guys. Like wouldn't it be real quick? Wouldn't it be great to see Jameis Winston go to Florida and then watch the Tampa Bay somersault of quarterbacks happen again?
Oh God. I think my teams to look out for these guys would be both backup roles, but Kansas City, someone to back up Mahomes because they're obviously in a Super Bowl window. If anything happens to Mahomes, they need, a Cam Newton caliber to keep the train on the tracks. And then Jacksonville, Gardner Minshew. I think Jameis Winston or Cam Newton could probably take that role and challenge for a starting spot, but I think they're committed to the stash,
Yeah, but the stash is like a 6th or 7th round draft pick. I don't think he's Brady at this moment. He could learn into being a Brady like Brady did, but I just don't think he's the man that they think is going to be the long term. He came in hot. He had like one of those who was that NBA Asian guy that came in, had like Vin Sandy. Jeremy Lin. So it's like Lin Sandy, but the mustache, man. It's crazy. It was great. Minshew Mania, but
I was deaf.
I just don't know if he's the future. I don't know if they think he's the future. I agree with you. Those are more than likely the best teams to give them a shot to be their starting quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
And I could see the Kansas City, man. That sounds great. I could even see going to the Ravens with either one of those guys. Like you said, in case he gets hurt, keep the wheels a-rolling. So those are some great options. I do like that. We'll see what happens. And once it does, we'll obviously report it. Let's look and see about our last topic we have for the night, fantasy team questions. So this is going to be trade scenarios. Any questions you have about trades, fantasy, put it on our Twitter, Foggy Matt, or Pickle Rick 182. Go to the Twitter, ask us any questions there. We'll put them on the podcast at the end. So for this one, we got the information through Einhorn over there. He has the trades we're going to talk about. Now, the trades we're going to talk about today are the ones that are actually in our podcast or our league that Matt runs. Einhorn has this league. It is a great league, and it is on an app called Sleeper. I would personally suggest you check out Sleeper versus ESPN. If you've played on ESPN, you know the troubles with it. You know how it works and doesn't work. Sleeper is very exhaustive as far as the detailing and what they use. I would highly recommend you go in there and do a couple mocks. The main thing that you're not going to get to see that you will love is the off-season and during the season view, transaction, and everything. So with that, I'll go ahead and give it over to Einhorn. Let us know some of the trades we've seen, and then we'll break them down and let you know where we see these lining up.
We'll talk about our most recent trade, which actually happened today in the offseason, and it is Pickle Rick. You received Todd Gurley at the price of Le'Veon Bell and Rob Gronkowski.
Yes, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but there was a trade previously that happened where I actually got Gronkowski and David Johnson when they were nothing. They were throw-ins, right? They were just dart throws at the time, and I was like, go ahead.
You got Dixon before the trade to Houston, so Kenyon Drake was the guy, and David Johnson backup,
Yeah.
which
And
is
Gronk
a
was retired.
great move. Yeah, and Gronk was retired, and it actually both matured extremely well for you.
Very well. And the thing is like the reason I wanted to get Gronk in the trade I did, I thought there was some opportunity for David Johnson, of course, right? But I didn't expect it to be the number one for Hopkins. I mean, that's ridiculous. You're going to play. You're going to get the ball if they give up Hopkins. So anyway, the other part of it was Gronkowski. I wanted him because I had heard him in a bunch of interviews, radio interviews, publicity, marketing things, saying, I'm not coming back to the NFL until marijuana is legalized. And essentially, the CBA came out with something where it's not full on legalized, but you have to be below a certain thing when you test. And it's pretty passable, I would say, for anybody in the NFL that is going to just, do normal usage. So I saw this as a sign Gronk is going to want to come back. I think he bought into a CBD oil company or something like that. So that's why he was doing it. It could be marketing. It could have been for real. Regardless, it got me into the mindset of this guy's got the opportunity to come back. He might do it. I took the chance, and it worked.
Another off for you was, what was it? Almost 2 weeks ago, you traded Devontae Adams for Tyreek Hill. And I think this is a great move because Tyreek Hill's going to have Patrick Mahomes for the foreseeable future. Devontae Adams stuck with Jordan Love in a year or two.
Oh, man.
So kudos.
Thank you.
Kudos.
I got lucky on a couple of these things, and this is all in hindsight. It could change still, but Tyreek Hill could never be the same. He could. I love him. I think he's great. The thing that scares me is he's boomer bust, but his busts are like 10 to 12 points. I mean, that's not bad. So his booms are like 30, 25 points. So I like the guy.
It's a no-brainer. But you would much rather have Tyreek.
I don't know. I mean, Devontae is still a great piece. You can always trade him at this point regardless. So they're both great, especially for this year.
Questionable trade. One owner received Zach Ertz, and all it cost him was Josh Gordon, Andy Brown, and Eric Ebron, who was later.
Yeah,
the other two guys.
The fact that you say Eric Ebron was dropped is what actually does it for me. Before that, I kind of see it. Like you're giving away those wild cards like I took, right? The Antonio Brown, the Josh Gordon, with the weed being legalized in a way in the CBA, or at least changed. Will he get another chance? I think this guy's on a 15 strikeout policy. I don't think Gordon gets to come back ever again. I think he's just done. They're like, look, it wasn't even about you doing that again. It's about you breaking rules nonstop. So I think he's done, and I think that Brown maybe 1 year, but he's probably done. And you're getting Ebron, who looks good, but when you drop him, like that's what the whole trade was hinging on for me. So why did you give up Zach Ertz? Like, that makes no sense.
That you dropped. Anyway, another trade that involves you, and it's one of those big ones because I feel like the last ones were kind of pedestrian a little bit, whatever.
Dude, I don't
you
know.
Receive
Go ahead.
Saquon Barkley and Dave Metcalf. That's who you got. And what did it do?
Big price.
Mike Evans, Duke Johnson, David Johnson, Joe Mixon. And I think the meat of it is Joe Mixon and Mike Evans. Rather we have Joe Mixon, Mike Evans, or DK Saquon. I feel like that's fair. The overpay comes in with Houston's handcuff, David Johnson and Duke Johnson, which could be something, could be nothing.
Well, thing is in this
parties compensate.
In this league, it is a PPR. So David Johnson, the way it looks, is going to be a great dump-off option. Even though we know he's lost a step, he is still going to be the man. So, the overpay is David Johnson or just Duke Johnson having that slot, just lined up. You have both people. So I agree. I think there's a massive overpay there on my part, but to get Saquon, that's what you got to do. You got to do something at this point that's over the top to get him. I mean, I think it's a good move, though. I don't know if I'll ever trade him. I don't know. It'd be at least a couple years. But if the right thing comes up, man, I trade him tomorrow. I'm down to make trades. It just depends on how good they are. But yeah, let's do something that's not me for a couple, because I don't know. Well, we'll do one more that's not me for sure, and then let's talk about a couple people that you might be wanting to trade.
Well, looking for the one big trade for our last one to discuss real quick. And
do yours in the Lamar.
That's the one I'm looking for. I've got to scroll up because I don't have the photos.
If you go to James's team and go to transactions, it'll show you and him.
Here it is. I got it.
All right.
It's the big boy trade that I pulled off, where I received Keenan Allen, Alvin Kamara, and Aaron Rodgers, as well as the first overall pick this year, and the third overall pick year, and a first and second first year. That cost me the ninth overall pick, Leonard and Lamar Jackson.
So Leonard Fournette,
stuff.
Leonard Fournette, Lamar Jackson, which is really the big piece. Leonard Fournette, Lamar Jackson, and your first round ninth pick. Right?
And basically, yeah. And I got
Aaron Rodgers,
first rounders this year.
Aaron Rodgers to replace Lamar Jackson. Then you get Kamara to replace Fournette. And then you get 2 first rounders.
And Keenan Allen.
And that is a monster of a trade. I mean, it's hard to, like, a lot of leagues, they don't even make big trades. But man, we have had some busters this last year.
It's a great league. It's a great league, great owners. And a lot of it comes down to the fact the Sleeper app truly is, like you said at the start of the segment, it's the far app. If you're a football player, you should switch to Sleeper app. The only complaint that you or I have had on the Sleeper app is we wish it did more sports.
Yeah.
It only does football.
Well, it does football. It does. It was going to do the college basketball, I believe, this year.
Oh, yeah, they had a March Madness NCAA tournament set up for it, but
the virus has stopped that. Then they were also going. They're starting now the esports, like the gaming. So that's kind of interesting. I know they're branching out. Hopefully, they will get within the next year or two into other sports, because I would love to try basketball on it.
Oh yeah, but commissioner of the league. It gives me a lot of control where I can have a lot of fun rules for league that make the dynasty a lot more unique than just run of the mill. Oh yeah, let's play some fantasy football with guys at work or the folks in the family. This is such an interactive league. Literally made it a 365-day league. You know, it year round. And we do have a trade deadline, but you still have things that you can do. You know, the waiver wire is still active. You set your lineup and whatnot. But once the fantasy playoffs end, boom, we open it right back. There's no lag, as it should be. But these are things that we can probably discuss the next episode on options to set up your league.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're going to go over some 101 tutorials of, like, if you're just getting started, what the best things to do, best way to set up some leagues. If you're advanced versus not, what rules might be best for you. So we'll have some podcasts in the future where we discuss our league, what the rules are there, and we might set up a listener league on Sleeper that is probably just a replica of what we currently have. We might change a rule or two here, depending on if we get any votes. Some people, write in, tell us what they want to do. But we're going to probably have a listener league that's on Sleeper and let everybody experience that for themselves. But yeah, we'll finish this episode here. We'll cover some more whenever some more news drops. Whenever some more questions come in, we'll get everything set up. We're on YouTube. You can get us there at Finkle and Einhorn. Episodes will be whenever news drops until the season gets close. It won't be more like a schedule until we get close to the season. So we'll be on iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere that you can listen to us on podcasts. We're going to have a Facebook group. Check us out there, Finkle and Einhorn. And then also on Twitch, we like to stream when we play video games. We play a lot of Madden, play a lot of Monopoly, other things. That's at I'm Pickle Rick 182. It's just I am Pickle Rick 182. Get us there, ask us questions. We're always available to answer in the chat. So get us there anytime that you have a question, and we'll see you next time on Finkle and Einhorn. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Give us a like and subscribe, and also review us on iTunes, Apple, Stitcher, anywhere that you're at listening to this podcast. Please check us out on Twitter at Finkle Podcasts. Matt is at Foggy Matt, and I am at Pickle Rick 182. You can get us on Twitch at I'm Pickle Rick 182. We would love to answer questions. Anything you have, please let us know. The laces are out.